Looks like we won't be getting a Rainbow Six Siege 2, at least not anytime soon. Today we got the news that there's no sequel planned for Rainbow Six Siege. And no, it's not because they don't think it'd be worth it, but rather, the game has been so successful, they want to keep it going. According to Ubisoft, the active player count has reached 27 million, and it continues to grow. This isn't terribly surprising to me. When Siege launched in late 2015, it quickly became one of my favorite games. Despite its issues, which it had some, the gameplay felt great and offered a unique twist to most modern-day shooters, with destructible environments, a planning and setup phase, and a heavy emphasis on using cameras and audio to spot enemies. I played this game pretty obsessively for about 6 months, and only stopped just because there are other stuff I wanted to check out, but nevertheless, this remains one of my favorite and all-time most recommended shooters. It's a really good game, so I'm happy to see that they've got big plans for its future. During a panel at the 2018 Siege Invitational, Ubisoft laid out their roadmap for the game. The biggest takeaway is that, as we mentioned, there's no sequel planned, and that they're looking to support Siege for at least 10 years, with consistent updates and patches adding new operators, maps, and modes. For year 3, they're aiming for 8 new operators, working towards an eventual goal of 100. They're planning to improve the starter and standard editions, making both more generous. They're also going to unlock all weapon attachments in the future, so no more grinding for those. And lastly, they went into detail about planned changes for existing maps, esports support, and more. One of the biggest complaints about this game has been the cost of new operators, which in a game that you have to pay to play in the first place is a fair critique. Now that said, you can unlock all operators with the in-game currency, although that'll take some grinding, but more importantly, this is an FPS where players die in one headshot, so whether or not you have the newest and greatest operator, you're still just as effective at taking out enemies. It's just the utility abilities that set the operators apart. Now that complaint aside, this is a pretty phenomenal game, and it's great to hear that Ubisoft plans to continue supporting it for a long time to come. Contrast to big shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield, who pump out new versions constantly while dropping support for the previous edition. Ubisoft is headed in the other direction. And this falls right in line with what they've been doing in recent years. You look at The Division, For Honor, and of course Siege. These are games that they have continued to update and support, and that's really their game plan going forward. Now, I kind of can fall on either side when it comes to this debate. The idea of, do you continue to support games and go along the lines of games as a service, or do you start over and work on a sequel or follow-up so that you can kind of flesh out some new ideas, try some new things, work with a brand new engine? There's pros and cons to both sides. I'd love to know what you guys think about this, especially those of you who consistently play Rainbow Six Siege. Do you like the fact that they're going to keep adding to it, going up to eventually 100 operators, and that they have this 10-year plan, or would you rather them start over, work on Rainbow Six Siege 2, and, you know, work with a new engine, try some different things, and kind of get a fresh take on this franchise, on this very successful formula that we have in Rainbow Six Siege? Either way, it does look like their plan is a 10-year one, so yeah, they are going to keep adding to this one that we have, but again, you could look at it like, oh, they're only doing this because they've got a big fan base, or it's one of those chicken or egg things. Do they have a big fan base that is continuing to grow because they're doing it? Seems like there's a strong case for that argument. Either way, we'd love to know what you guys think. Just wanted to let you guys know that yes, no Rainbow Six Siege 2 is coming anytime soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.